Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Chatting with Wisdom. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rollie Allaire. Gigado Migwin is my spirit name, and I'm your host of Chatting with Wisdom. Chatting with Wisdom is a weekly interview series featuring amazing women, and there's lots of ways that we get to celebrate how amazing women are, and I am so excited to be able to do this with so many women. I invite you to join me in my private Facebook group, Mind, Body, Heart, and Soul Connection, and you can also find a similar group on Telegram that I've been using to share positivity. So today I would like to welcome Hannah. So Hannah Pekary is a business coach who helps entrepreneurs to create healthy relationships in their businesses and personal lives, creating healthy habits so that they are well equipped to work through their limiting beliefs, money mindset, and more. So creating their true identity. Before starting a coaching business, Hannah worked for 15 years as a dance teacher, a professional dancer, whilst training to become a teacher and running a successful tutoring business. Wow, you were busy. Before and during that time, Hannah nannied for numerous families, supporting them to create healthy habits. Hannah now helps these entrepreneurial mums to create their own businesses and lifestyles full of freedom and joy. Hannah lives in the Welsh coastline and loves to take unwinding walks with her dog, breathing in the salty air. Hannah enjoys to bake for any occasion and loves spending time with her family. Hannah is available for business coaching, both one-on-one and through her courses. So welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So we're talking about that root of all evil conversation, aren't we? So
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh, it is. Everybody thinks that it's evil, but it's really not.
so tell me a little bit more about you. So like you shared a little bit about how some of the things in your past and your background. How did you get into doing money mindset? How did you get into that? Into that?
I think it was most of all when I was working with my coach and having this understanding that my money mindset wasn't quite where I needed it to be. I knew that we needed to talk about it positively, and that I had many people around me, especially those within my family, that weren't always talking about it positively. But actually, it was down to me. What I was bringing in was down to me. But there was something there between this relationship between myself and money, and who was around me and their money as well. And so that really started a journey for me to understand on a deeper level how other people were impacting my money journey.
And I like how you actually talk about that being like how it's impacting your money journey. So do you want
Mm.
to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story is that I was born into an entrepreneurial family. My dad ran a business in London, very successful. But when the business started to not do so well, his money mindset and his relationship um, changed somewhat, and how I saw that other people around me then in my family were talking about money, sometimes not always respecting money and themselves with money, just not having that healthy relationship with money. And I very much grew up with that and having that belief over me that those that want the new car, or get their house redecorated or have the new kitchen wasn't for us. It was for Joe Bloggs down the road that did a different kind of job. You know, they might be the lawyer or some sort of higher corporate job that we all in a stereotypical world think, right, they're the ones that earn the big money. And so that's what I was brought up to believe, that that money wasn't for me, it wasn't for our family. We weren't ever going to have those nice things like that. It was for other people that lived in our street.
So and it is something that is so common, right? So like the lawyers and like they get all these big houses and they get all these different opportunities and I don't know whether or not you guys have the expression there that so their children would be the children that are born with a silver spoon in their mouth,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So like those kind of and those analogies and those statements make things really difficult when people are trying to move forward in and being able to create their income, create whatever it is that they want to be able to create in their own lives. And so unless you have a windfall, then you're not going to necessarily be able to like make it the same way that everybody else, like you said, everybody else on the block
Yeah.
kind of make it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The only way that we were going to have it is if we won the lottery.
Yeah. So so how did that change for you?
That really changed for me that I always knew really that I wanted to run my own businesses. That was something from a young age. I never minded working for somebody else being employed, but the more that I was employed, the more that I knew that actually I liked being my own boss. And for me, then starting with my dance school and there being a few businesses, smaller businesses in and around that, um, I knew that if I desired so much more from myself and my businesses that I knew that if I wanted that and I was going to achieve that, that something had to change. And that had to change. My attitude towards money had to change. My boundaries with other people that had different attitudes towards money had to be put into place. And I had to get really sound with myself then about what I wanted and how I was going to do it, and knowing that I was just as capable of achieving that monetary level then, if you like, as the corporate levels too.
So then what are some of the first steps that so anybody who's watching are going like, wow, like she's done lots of work and like there's no way that I'm going to be able to get to that level, and or at least not tomorrow. So what are some of the smaller steps? Like what are some of the smaller things that they can actually do in terms of visiting that relationship with money?
There are a few things, and again, I would say even though they are smaller steps, be patient and allow yourself to take the time with those smaller steps as well. It doesn't happen overnight, but you can make these small steps overnight. So I would say your money relationship does start with you. So you have a responsibility to it. So I would encourage anybody to write their money story out. So go from birth. What monetary value has been talked over you from birth? Have you been talked over as a business owner or an employer from birth? What things have been said to you? And who do you maybe need to forgive in that process? You know, whether it's your parents, siblings, other family members, has a teacher spoken something over you that has made you think that you're not capable of going down the career path that you wanted? Write it all down. And that's what might take some time, and allow it to take some time so that you really get it out on paper. And you're not, do your best not to leave any stone unturned. And then also sit in a place where you will forgive those that have put something upon you that is not your value, and has put something upon you that has stopped you from creating and moving forward the values that you do actually have. And then I would say that if when you want to move forward with those values, again, I would say write them down, sort of on your computer. I don't know what yours is like, but mine's covered in Post-it notes. So I would say,
I move them around so that I can actually see what I'm doing sometimes.
absolutely. And I don't know if you can see behind, that's my nephew putting Post-it notes all over my door, but I'm like, they can stay there. Absolutely. And I'm just like, chuck it all over your screen, your mirror in your bathroom. Put your new value beliefs on these sticky notes, or with some lipstick, an old lipstick on your mirror. Put them somewhere that you can see and that you can keep on talking them out loud. Because if you can't say your value out loud, then you're not going to believe it inside.
And that really does make a huge difference. So there's a couple of things that you said that I know work really well from like a psychological perspective. So one is the writing down. So when we actually take pen to paper, makes a huge difference. So those of us who are like used to using our phones and the computers and that kind of thing, but when we're doing this kind of work, that the pen to paper makes a huge difference. And I don't remember, and I'd have to go back and look and see if I can find that old study, but it has to do with the way that the brain has to create the words in order for us to be able to get things going. And so like it really does make a huge difference that way. So writing things down. And then I get people who are very fearful that, like, well, they're not going to be able to write it down correctly, or their grammar's not going to be good. It doesn't matter. Nobody else is reading it. Right. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say as a teacher as well, and I'm sure other teachers that might be listening, we're all different types of learners. So that's more of a read-write learner to write it down. And, you know, aside from the psychological point that it's really important to write it down and to get those words and get that flow out. And sometimes when we say it, we might miss a word, but actually when it comes in our mind, we can just put it to paper. It's not lost. But also, there's lots of different types of learners out there. You know, I'm quite a visual learner as well. I dance. I have different ways of learning, and it's okay to find those different ways of learning for yourself as well. So if you feel that, you know, writing it down is not going to work for you, it's not going to be sufficient, write it down anyway so that moment is not lost. But the mind and your thoughts and your feelings is never lost. It's always on paper, it's in your journal, wherever you put it. But find a way in your home and in your life where you don't lose those values that you talk over yourself. So you might want to dance and might want to put some music on and dance with your kids in the kitchen and say those words out loud. Say it with your kids in the mirror. I am valuable. I am going to earn money. Money is good. Money is positive. I have money. Those are things you can say with your children, and maybe to start teaching your children or somebody else, that will equip you with some confidence to feel that for yourself too.
and yeah, and so and the other part that I was that I really loved, and I love how you incorporated the dance and the music as well. But it's that being able to vocalize it, so being able to put it on paper, like you said, like in that moment, writing it down, but then being able to vocalize. So I have a lot of clients who, when they come on a session with me, that's what we do. Is that, and we're not necessarily talking about money, but like we're talking about like whatever it is that's going on, and for them, it's about the um, and how they actually like figure things out is that it's actual vocal, like it's actually vocal, and I'm like that as well. Excuse me, my processing works best when I'm talking. And so a lot of times my husband will say, you're giving me too much information, but it's because I'm processing the information. And so by
Yes.
me talking it through makes me like, oh, okay, but I'm forgetting a step. So we need to go back and I need to be able to do this. And so a lot of times when I have a problem that I'm not quite ready to share with anyone else, is that I will actually go for a drive and I will have a conversation out loud with the person or with the scenario or whatever it is that's going on. And so I'll be driving down the highway and having this conversation. And so then at that point, a lot of ideas, or especially if I've been stuck on something, going for a drive also makes a really huge difference for me because, and it doesn't have to be a drive, but I don't look as silly driving talking to myself than I do when I'm walking down the street talking to myself. So so that's the reason why I do the driving. But if you can actually even go to some place where you can have a conversation with yourself, so out in the wilderness or whatever, like, so if that is but it's also being able to speaking it, right? So like being able to like having it and then speaking it. And when and there's so many different teachers out there that talk about that all the time. It's about being able to when you speak it out loud, it then gets to manifest, right? So then it gets to like, and I don't know what the psychological or like the scientific portion of that part is because I haven't seen any studies, but I know that that's one thing that a lot of teachers will actually talk about. A lot of leaders will talk about like speaking it out loud. So writing it down and sharing. It doesn't have to be detailed. Sharing doesn't have to be detailed, but being able to speak it makes a huge difference as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's having your belief system. So if you're not saying it out and you're just keeping it in your mind, then you're playing with your own mind and you're giving your mind an opportunity to start questioning itself as to, oh, I know I said this morning that I'm more than capable of achieving my 5K month, but this afternoon I'm doubting it. You know, you're allowing yourself to possibly take yourself to a place of questioning what you've just spoken over yourself. But actually, if you start speaking it out loud, you are believing it more and more and more. And again, I would highly recommend that if somebody doesn't have a coach, If that's not something that you are wanting to step into, I would highly recommend getting a coach if that's something that you're looking to pull out of yourself right now. But if you haven't, get yourself an accountability buddy. Get yourself somebody that you can say, today I am believing this about myself. Tell somebody that you can stay accountable to.
And I love that as well, right? So it makes a huge difference. And having a coach is extremely important. So, but obviously that's not always in the realm for everyone.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of being able to have the accountability coach. And so I know that this is not the same in the same respect, but in terms of that whole purpose is that when I was in a so I guess it was about 8 years ago now, that when I was in a very major depressive state, that was one of the things that I did was that I didn't necessarily speak to anybody specifically. I went onto my Facebook and I posted it every day. I am grateful for, right? And it was like every day. So it was day 1, day 2, day 3. And I don't remember, I think I had been a couple of months in, and because I don't remember exactly the timeline, but I had a family member send me a message, private message, and said, how many more days are you going to be doing this? And I said, until I feel better. Right. So sometimes it's just that. So having that accountability partner, having that way of being able to be accountable for someone else makes a huge, or to someone else, not for someone else, to someone else makes a huge difference.
But I'd love to come back to what you said as well, though. You can do it with someone and actually having somebody talk that out. So you are being their accountability partner while they're talking this out and growing in the space of their belief. Is only going to share the positivity to them anyway. There's something that can create a great partnership, a great friendship, a great sisterhood in that as you grow and learn and develop together.
And you develop that bond, right? So I'm not sure whether or not you do group work, but that's one of the things that I see in the groups that I'm with is that you actually start to like you get to check in and say, okay, well, I wonder how Hannah's doing, and Hannah comes back and says, well, today it's been a really rough day. Okay, but remember when you did A, B, C, D, and E, and then it's like that boost of like, oh yeah, I can really do this, right?
Yeah.
So I know that working in groups, so like not just having an accountability also makes a huge difference as well. So do you work with groups as well?
I do, yes. I've got one-to-one and groups.
Nice. So so what are some of the first steps? So we've talked about like changing those things, but what are some of the first steps once they've done that part of the work? So they've done the writing it out, taking the inventory, speaking it out loud to be able to change those values. Then what are the next steps from there?
So you also have to do some work too, ladies. That there's some stuff to be done here as well. So, depending on what you want in your business and where you're at with your business, it might be time to put some strategy into play too. So, you've taken your space and your time to rest and allow yourself to heal and to forgive others and to grow. But now actually might be the time for you to do some work and actually to start putting some strategy into play. And again, I would really recommend to go through that with peace and joy and patience, because you are more than capable of achieving, whether it's your 5K month, 10K month, if you're looking for something even more. You might just be looking at, with your business, creating an extra 500 a month. Whatever that is, you are very capable of doing that. But you also need to create that strategy for that money to come in too. So I would say, for somebody that's starting off, if you're looking at creating a 2K month, what strategy can you put in play for that? And build yourself up in increments towards your goal. And it might only be 2 or 3 increments, but find peace and joy in building those increments up. See them as steps towards you getting higher to that main goal. And your money will come in. If you are aligned with what you are being called to do, your money will come in. And if you have got your mindset in the right place, the money will come in.
And I really I really like as you were talking, it was like, what? I have to do work? You mean I have to, like, it's not just magical thinking, and it's not just going to appear, and it's not going to come from falling
Sorry.
from the sky? So, and because that's again one of those other things that we hear so much, right? So we hear about manifesting, and we hear about all these things about putting it down and saying it out loud, and doing these things, and all these things are going to happen. But if you still don't take the steps towards it, it's still not going to happen.
Absolutely. You've been blessed with a business. You've been blessed with the gifting and talents for a business. So what is your business calling you to do? It's not calling you to sit on the sideline and be idle. You, people want your services, they want your products. You're meant to create this business, but do it with a positive mindset, knowing that the money will come in, and doing it again with peace and with joy and with the great energy that people are just going to see from you, whether you're on the screen or face to face. People need to see that happiness and that joy that your business brings you, and then your business will start to grow.
And it is those steps, and it is those that part of taking that time. And so, but then one of the things that I also see a lot of times with entrepreneurs is that you'll see them that they've done all the mindset work, and they've done all the different steps, and then they start doing all the actions, but then they forget to come back and rest, right? Then they
Yes,
just keep doing, and we are not machines. We can't keep doing. We need to come back and rest and revisit and reassess where things are, and maybe it's going to be the exact same of where we were, but we still need to stop and take that time to be able to rest and doing that self-care. Does that play into come like into the things that you talk about or that you work with your clients with?
absolutely. There is an old saying, isn't there? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. You know, we're blessed, as I say, with our businesses and the giftings and the talents we have to take our businesses forward. But actually, we've got so many other things around that as well. You know, we're being blessed with the business and the money that's coming from the business. But what is that money meant to do? Is that money meant to just sit in your bank account? Or are you meant to be enjoying your life and enjoying your time with your family and your friends and everything else that you've got in your world? You know, how you spend your money is is just as much a part of the healthy relationship that you want as it is when you're trying to call the money in, or you're calling the money into your business.
So what do you mean by that? How you spend your money?
So how you spend your money, you know, where is it sitting? Is it just sitting in your bank account? Are you afraid of spending it because of, you know, as is being talked about pretty much worldwide about a recession and things? Are you afraid of spending it? I'm not saying that it's a wrong thing to have savings. That's very wise, but also, you know, are you meant to be spending? You know, Christmas is coming. You know, is there a way that you can be wise or wiser about spending your money? How about treating yourself when you have achieved that increment, that step towards that monthly goal? Where's that treat for you? And okay, if it's a small step and it's brought in a smaller amount of money, go and get yourself a coffee. You know, it doesn't have to be a big treat. But if you don't know how to spend your money wisely, then you will not be bringing in the money wisely either.
And I love that that analogy. So like why would that be? Like why would that be the case?
If you can't spend your money wisely, that,
Yes.
yeah. Well, if you're not spending your money wisely, then why would you be trusted to have that money to come in? You know, it's your money to do good with. And I'm not saying you have to go and give all of that away, but it's your money that you are being entrusted with. So, how can you make sure that you are spending that wisely? You know, I'm talking very hypothetical things here. I don't know, you know, our audience right now, but hypothetically, if somebody has got their mortgage to pay and they've got all the bills to pay, are you making sure that um, what has to be paid is paid first before the desirables? You know, and then when it comes to the desirables, you know, are they big desirables every month that you can't afford? If that's the case, that's not quite the healthy relationship that we would be encouraging. our clients to have. So having that healthy relationship with your money all the way through the relationship. There is a relationship before you start receiving it, but there's also a relationship when you have received it too.
And I love that. So tell me a little bit more about how people can work with you. Like, do you have something that you are working on right now that you can share?
Absolutely. So I have a course that's coming out in January, and it's about building the solid foundations in your business. So something that you can take away with you year on year. But it's something that I've learned through many customers over the years, that many people will step into the new year and they'll make their New Year's resolutions, they'll make their new goals for the year, and oh my gosh, I'm going to do it. 2022 or 2023 is my year. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then they might get to about the 5th of January and they go, it's okay, it's still the beginning of January, I'm okay. And then they get to the 10th of January and they go, nothing's happened, it's still okay, it'll be all right, it's only the 10th of January. And then it gets on a little bit later and they go, oh, well, I didn't do it, so I may as well put those goals and those New Year's resolutions down. And that's what I don't want for anybody. I want everybody to know that you can have your business whatever time of the year, but let's try and change this and make sure that you have a solid foundation to build your business upon, rather than one that is just built on New Year's resolutions that just might get put out there with no action behind it.
And you're right. A lot of times that's exactly what we do. So we talk about New Year's resolutions because we're getting close to the end of the year. But when people are getting that motivation, right? So even summer's over, now it's time to like get busy and get things done. And then so you start off in September, or you start off late August, and then you're like, okay, a little bit, right? So like we have different seasons that we actually do that in spring again, and that's another one of those like super motivational times, right? So it's like it's about being able to do that. So so I put the link in the comments for anybody who is on Facebook and Facebook, Instagram, or face. I keep saying Instagram. I don't know why. Eventually, apparently, we're going to go live on Instagram, but it's not there yet. So YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And so, for those of you who are catching this in the audio version, it's Healthy Habit Coaching with Hannah.vip member vault.com. So that is the link that I have just shared in the group for those of you who are catching this in the audio version. And I sometimes forget about that for the audio version. And so it was like somebody actually jarred me and reminded me that it's like, we can't see that link that you actually share. So it was like, okay, good point. So I thought that I would actually make sure to share that out. Is there anything else, Hannah, that you think would be really important for people to know before we head out?
I just want to say with that one, for anybody that's on audio, there is only one of me on social media. So just search for me, Hannah Pekary, and it's Hannah Pekary Coaching. You can find all of it on there too. So I would just say that, you know, anybody that's listening, you can have a healthy relationship with money, even if you think, oh my gosh, I am way, way, way behind, even just thinking about putting my story to paper. If that feels really emotive for you and you're not quite sure where to start, there's always a point to start, always a point. So please don't feel that your business, if it's an idea, that it has to stay in your head, it can't come to fruition, or the business that you're working with that you really feel called with, that is, you might feel is not doing what you want it to do. There is always a starting point. So please don't be discouraged that your starting point might be different from somebody sitting next to you.
And I think that that's really important as well for anybody so whether you're just starting or you're already kind of in the middle of it, and especially over the last couple of years with COVID, so many people have had to pivot and change
Yes.
and figure out where it is that they're going to be going with their businesses. So I think that that's also really important for everybody to be able to remember, is that we're never starting at zero. So like even if you've had already started and it wasn't successful and things have actually but you're like still in that energy that you want to be able to still do something, you're not starting back at zero. You're starting at the point where you left off.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And where you start is exactly where you should be starting. It's got
Beautiful.
nothing to do with the person next to you. You start at your starting point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining, and we will chat soon. And I will be back next week with another Chatting with Wisdom. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.